Magazine that I write for, but I always like to point this out from time to time, Silver Magazine. If you haven't had a chance to read this, there was a great article, not mine. Mine was okay this month, but there's a really nice article in here by, well, hold on a second. It's all about hospice, and her name is Pat Webdale out of Fredonia. I don't know if you know Pat Reed.
I usually have a hospice program every year with whoever the commissioner is or the director of it.
But I know a lot of us are in with that sandwich generation, and but there was a nice article in here, and it's called "The Story of Dying and Death." It sounds kind of grim, but it actually was a very upbeat article as far as how hospice comes into a family situation and works with them. And there's just a whole nother set of articles in here about finance, and I got a kind of a fun one in there about my travels in Texas and that sort of thing. So if you get a chance, get Silver Magazine. It's free. You'll see it in your doctor's offices, hospital waiting rooms, and so forth.
Can you sign up for it? Or get
No, they just drop it off at various locations, libraries and so forth. But the good news is it's for this county. It's for 55-year-old on up. That's the target group. And there's articles of interest for you, so I point that out to you. It's sort of like a partner to this program, Reed. You're just a wealth of knowledge about senior activities in the area, and this goes right along with that.
Nothing like being a senior.
Nothing like being a senior. I'm just barely over the edge there. Real quick, coming up this Saturday, May 14th, the Westfield Mayville Rotary is going to have a huge auction, Reed. If you got a little spare change, come on in. At the door, you still can buy tickets, $10, and this is what you get for $10. This is a great deal. A chicken barbecue dinner with the works, a chance to win $500. There's free beverages along with that, beer and soda, and you can bring in snacks if you like. It's the Westfield Firemen's Exempt Hall on Bourne Street from 5 to 9. 5 to 9. Okay. I was getting there. I know. There's good good reporting here. We have Dave Brown. He's our live auctioneer. He does a great job every year for us, but it raises monies that we give out a lot in scholarships. Talking about Sherman, we give out 2 scholarships to the children over there. Last year we gave out 2 $400 scholarships, as well as 400 schools. So it's like $4,000 just in scholarships alone. So this is one of our major fundraisers, but lots of fun things, live auction and silent auction. And Reed, I was just going to point out, I got a little colorful today, just to kind of remind folks that you're going to see people out and about doing highway cleanup. And as soon as I'm done with the show today, I'll be joining my fellow Rotarians over on 394, actually just down the road from here. We're going to be cleaning from about the Portage Gallery. Portage Gallery? That sounds right. It's the art place. And we're going to go right down to the lake. But folks, be mindful of folks when you see them out there with the helmets and the vest. We're trying to clean up a lot of the debris that, well, unfortunately, a lot of folks are tossing out their windows. So I encourage you, if you talk to young folks, tell them to keep their stuff in their cars. We see a lot of food wrappers and those kinds of things. Let's keep our state clean. It's one of the messier ones in my travels.
God bless the people that clean up.
Yeah.
But you know, you're taking away work. When I go down the road, I throw all kinds of trash out, which means that they will have to hire somebody at the state level who have a decent job picking it up.
Well, anyways, folks, the Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, a lot of your clubs and organizations, Kiwanis, Rotary, and so forth, they're all out there right this time of year. So be mindful. They're going to be on the highways and the byways of our county. Have a great day, and thanks for having me again.
God bless. So give me a quick shot again. The fundraiser for the
okay, it's the Westfield Mayville Annual Rotary Auction, May 14th. From 5 to 9 at the Westfield Firemen's Exempt Hall.
Okay.
$10, chicken barbecue.
Can't beat it.
Can't beat it.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you get over there. You'll have a good time, and you can't beat that price because you're supporting a wonderful group of folks that give it all away anyway. So they're nonprofit. They even charge their members $1 if they don't show up for a meeting.
That's true.
Okay, here we are. John, you didn't think you'd ever get on, did you?
Yay.
Well, I'm going to take a brief moment of silent meditation. You can pray if you want, or whatever you want, and we're going to talk. We're going to basically be thinking of the wonderful things in your life. When you do this, give yourself a bit of meditation every single day. You'll live a lot longer. Your blood pressure will drop 10 points, and you will be so fortunate as to be reminded by the Lord or whatever is up there that you are number one in this entire universe. Here's for you. Maybe they're daffodils. I love the daffodils. They're just like little rays of sunshine peeking out from all the grasses in the woods and here and there, because they flourish even though there are trees all around them, because the trees aren't budded out and leaved out, during which time they are regenerating for the next year. It's just like the same with tulips. You can plant tulips in the woods. They will grow every year. You wonder how they get nourishment, but there's no problem. They grow. Tulips and daffodils and hyacinths and all the wonderful things. The trees are beginning to shape up into big cones of white and pink and red with the blossoms. Oh, what a time. And can you beat the dogwood? The dogwood trees are God's creation for mankind's beauty, enjoyment and beauty. At any rate, here we go. John, you are on. Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, now you're mayor of that lovely little village. Tell us a little about it. First of all, where'd you grow up? Tell us a little about that.
Well, I was born and raised in Corey, Pennsylvania.
That's nearby.
I lived there until '66 when I started undergrad study at Edinburgh.
What'd you study?
I had a major in chemistry and a minor in math.
Yeah, I studied chemical engineering at the University of Pittsburgh, believe it or not. Yeah. And here's how I wound up doing this. And so then you came back, or what brought you to Sherman?
Well, in 1966, I was hired by Sherman Central under John Butler. And I taught there for 33 years.
Chemistry?
Chemistry, math, earth science, several other things I filled in for. And I met my wife in 1970. We were married in 1971. She lived in Sherman, the former Sally Land, and I moved to Sherman in 71. In 79, we sold out there, bought a farm out here on Van Ness Road, and run a beef farm for about 25 years out there. And after finally running that venture as far as we thought we could and profitably, she wanted to go back to Sherman. So we sold out the farm and built a new house in Sherman.
There you go. Beef farming is a tough business, especially now. And one of my favorite regulars on the program is Fred Crosscut. He's the guy in charge of the legislature, the county legislature, and a long-term legislator and a very hip guy. And he just sold his farm, his cow farm. He decided it's becoming harder and harder and harder, especially with all the regulations coming down.
Oh, it's terrible.
I mean, it's becoming insanity. But at any rate, you're now the mayor.
Yes.
What made you run for mayor? I mean, that's nothing but headaches. They don't pay a diddly for it.
Well, I hadn't been in Sherman very long, and I was approached to ask if I would run for the Board of Trustees. And in 2007, I was elected on the Board of Trustees, and then Jerry Olbeck was the mayor at the time, and he had a few health problems, and asked me if, as he had appointed me deputy mayor shortly after I was elected to the Board of Trustees, and he asked me if I would take over for him the last few months. So in 2009, in January, I took over for Jerry and was elected the following March, and re-elected this year in March. So this is the beginning of my second full term.
How long is the term?
2 years.
2 years. So actually, well, you must have been doing a good job if they re-elected you. Tell us a little about Sherman. Now, there are many similarities between Sherman and many other little communities and towns and villages out in Chautauqua County. We're made up mostly of small communities.
Yeah.
So tell us a little about Sherman, New York.
Well, like I said, it's a very small village, about 700 population in the village, and I think probably I could start with the report of the 2010 census. I think that we're the only village and the only town in Chautauqua County that had a positive growth over the 10 years. It's not great, but there were 100 more people in 2010 in the town and 16 more in the village of Sherman. We've got a lot of things going on. we're investigating possibility of erecting a feasibility study wind power tower. We've applied for a $99,000 grant, which we will know whether or not we get that in another 2 months.
That's for the study of the wind power tower.
That's just, the $99,000 is just to erect the feasibility study tower.
Just a study.
And if you get that and everything is positive, then after that we'll figure out how to pay for it. But it's a monumental expense.
It looks like it.
Unbelievable.
Jeez, you know, people are always telling me how cheap wind is, but when you start putting these machines up, and they of course, I consider them ugly. I consider them ugly. I love the quiet and the beauty of the woods, and they do make a whoosh, whoosh, grind sound, which everybody says, oh, you can't hear it. I can hear it. And it kills birds, you know, it knocks them down out of the...
Well, I tell you what, if the birds don't have enough to fly around it, they don't fly into too many trees or buildings, so I'm not too worried about that. But it's something in the future, you know, it's something that we could possibly give to the next generation or second or third generation. There's so much has been taken away from them already. I think that it's coming, and it could be a strong attribute. We've merged with the town, the village, and Sherman Central School as one entity trying to get this grant, and we'll see where it goes.
I wish our government, instead of supporting windmills, well, I'm not against them, but I consider them probably the worst of the options. I think solar power and solar cells, they're quiet, they don't bother anybody. You put 1 million on the top of every house, enough to run that house. And there's storage for it, so that when it's not sunny, you still have power, and you can sell some of it back to the electric company too.
If you produce enough. But there, you're talking about individual expense too, where these people have to come up with the money.
Right. Although remember, John, much of it is paid back by the government. They give you grants and tax exemptions for it, so they're not as expensive as they would appear to be.
Probably not, but. Of course, there are several options. That's just one of them.
Yeah, of course.
But back to the village now. What we're trying to do is give the old timers, not just the old timers, but everybody in the village. This is the second year that we've held taxes at a steady rate. No increase in taxes again this year.
Praise the Lord.
We're really tightening up our belt, and this year probably is going to be the tightest, toughest year for us to get through. And if we make it through this year, we've got things coming down the road, changes in the staff at the wastewater management plant, which is going to save us a great deal of money. And in I think 2018, the water sewer plant will be paid for, which is another huge savings. It looks to me like the plan that we're in right now, in the future, we're going to be able to do a lot more in the village. We have a water line now that's 80% complete. Those water lines hadn't been changed since 1908. And we had a lot of leaks, and it was expensive to run, but through the one grant that we got, $400,000 minus the engineer's fee and the grant writer's fee, we have put in 80% of it. Now we're doing water line hookups right now, and we're going to just peck away at that without borrowing any money until we get it done.
That's an important thing, because this credit stuff is big problems.
We're not going to spend a nickel unless we have to, and we're not going to borrow any money. We're going to get this done, and the staff that we've got working for us is fantastic. There was a big push here for dissolution of the